So I'm going to talk about the full process of buying a house step by step as a first-time buyer in the UK, sharing from my experience and also like my top tips to help you save money. There's a lot to say, but I'm going to try and condense as much of the information as I can. I have a detailed video on this on my YouTube channel, which you can watch for further information, but I'm going to try and be as detailed as I can here. And the very first thing is obviously planning, right? Planning for the type of house you want and also the price range for the house that you think you can afford. So that's the first step. Now, the second thing is financial preparation, which involves the first thing is having the deposit, saving up the deposit for the house. You should try to have at least 5% deposit because the more deposit you have, the better the interest you get on the mortgage. The second thing is also you have to pay for solicitors. So the lawyer that is going to help you with the house buying process, the solicitor, it's quite expensive, from like 1,000 to almost 2,000 pounds. You need to plan for that. You also need to figure out how you want to save to buy a house. Do you want to use a lifetime ISA, which gives you 25% bonus from the government every tax year, which is about 1,000 pounds? Or do you also want to consider using a high yield savings account to put the excess cash that you have apart from your lifetime ISA? So apart from having the deposit, you need to have savings for other things that has to do with buying the house. And something to just note here is that if you wanted to save this amount, save like this, because trust me, the house buying process is very expensive, and until you start, you don't quite realize how expensive it is. So just save up more than you think you actually need. And also part of financial preparation is building up your credit score. You need to have like a solid credit history before you can take on a huge debt like a mortgage, because they're going to check and look into your credit history to determine if you're a good borrower before they give you that money. The next thing is affordability checks. How much can you actually afford to borrow from the bank? There are free mortgage affordability checkers online. You can just Google and you find them, and you can easily do a quick search to see how much you can actually take out from the bank. Another thing is like a mortgage in principle, where a bank will tell you how much they can actually afford to loan you, and then you have like a concrete idea of where your finances sit. Next step is house search and property viewing. So at this point, you want to start searching for houses. If you're looking for a new build house, you want to also check like specific developer sites, and you also want to check websites like Rightmove. Another site that we use during our time is newhomesforsale.co.uk. I think I'll put you on the screen. So you want to start looking for these houses and you want to start booking viewings. Now, when you book viewings, something I'll just tell you here is that the first house you see and you think is the house is most likely not the house. Make sure to view as many properties as you can, so you have like options and you can pick what works and what doesn't work. Another thing is to have a checklist of things that you're looking out for in the house. Like, do you want high ceilings? Do you want a window in every room? That was something that I wanted, because in these UK houses, some houses, the toilets don't usually have windows. I wanted windows in every single toilet or bedroom in my house. So that was something on my checklist. I'm going to put out this checklist later on my page of what I looked out for when I was buying a house. So you want to ensure you have this checklist. So when you're viewing properties, you're checking it. Does this tick your list? Does it tick the boxes that you're looking out for? After that, once you found the house that you want, the next step is reserving the house. Most developers require that you pay something to hold or to put your claim on that house so that you don't give it out to another buyer. So in our instance, for example, we had to pay £500 reservation fee for the property that we wanted so that it was taken off the market and they don't sell it to any other person. Another thing is, at this point of reserving the house, you also want to negotiate with the housing developers. For example, we got over £20,000 worth of free stuff from our developers, okay? And I can do a detailed video about that, like all the items that we got and how we're able to get that. So you want to ensure you negotiate. Either you negotiate some incentives. Some have like a deposit scheme incentive where they contribute a certain amount to your deposit to, boost up the deposit that you have. So you want to ask if they have that. Some have like a free upgrade. So for example, we got free upgrades where we did not pay for the floor. We did not pay for the kitchen fixtures. It all came with the offer. So you want to negotiate all of these things at the point of reserving it, so that you're on the same page with the developers. Next step is hiring a solicitor. A solicitor would make or break your house buying process. They can also slow things down. It is worth doing your search to get the right, like a very well-known or well-trusted solicitor. Another thing I want to state here is that not just from my experience, from experience of so many people who have bought a house, chances are that you have a bad experience with your solicitor is there. What I mean by that is ensure to double check every single payment and every single thing. It's also on you to do the due diligence to ensure you're reading every fine script. If you don't understand something, make sure to ask your solicitor. If a payment doesn't add up, ask them what the payment is for. In our instance, we almost paid £500 more than we needed to because of an error. And when we brought it up to the solicitor, they were like, oh, sorry, it's an error. It's a mistake. And then they fixed it and gave us the accurate bill. And I'm like, how can you do that? Like, you're supposed to be on top of things. You need to ensure you get a good solicitor. If you look online, like solicitors for mortgage, you'll find a lot. Just ensure that you get a good one. So it's better to get a good one than to get a cheap one who in the long run will cost you a lot of things. And you need a solicitor that will read through the fine details. If anything is not right in the contract, they're going to pick it up and they're going to highlight it for you and talk to you about it. Very important you get a good solicitor. Also, at this point, you want to bring on a mortgage advisor or a mortgage broker. So what these people do is they're the ones that talk to the bank. They're the ones that help you find the interest rates out there. So bring all the banks together like, oh, Halifax has this interest rate. This one has this interest rate. Lloyds has this interest rate. NatWest has this interest rate. So they collate it all together and bring it to you. So they represent your interest to the banks. And then they would explain the different ones and which ones they think works best for your situation. And another thing is you can get a mortgage advisor that you don't have to pay. So they get paid by the bank and you don't have to pay them. So the mortgage advisors we did not have to pay him. He was paid by the bank and he was also an independent mortgage advisor, which is something to note here. You want to ensure that they don't have any particular bank interest at heart. Do you get? So they'll bring to you all the rates on the market, all the things available to you, and not just be showing you specific ones because they are tied to work with that bank. You want an independent mortgage advisor. So the next thing after this is finalizing the mortgage. Once you find the interest rates from the banks that you like, you pick the bank you want to go with or the mortgage lender you want to go with, then you proceed with your advisor to let them know you're interested in the offer, and then they begin working on that. And then surveys and valuations will come in. The banks will want to send someone to go to the property to ensure that the property is worth the amount that you're saying it is. So like if the property is 300,000, they will go there to evaluate it to be sure it's actually worth 300,000. And then also there are other checks like structural checks and stuff like that. But in my case, we're in a new build, so we did not need to do so many like checks and balances, but this is something to bear in mind. You have to do also land registry fees, several surveys and stuff like that. But in this process of finalizing the mortgage, you might have to pay a mortgage product fee. So some of these mortgage offers, they come with a fee where you pay like £1,000. It ranges from like £800 to like over £1,000. And what it is you paying the bank for arranging that mortgage. You have the option of adding the product fee to the mortgage that you're taking out or to pay it upfront. We decided to pay it upfront because adding that £1,000 to the entire mortgage, we're gonna end up paying interest on that money as well. So we decided, we want to pay it upfront. And then also the mortgage lender that we used offered like a cash back. So of that £1,000 we paid, we got £250 cash back. So they gave us £250 back. The next stage after that is exchange of contracts. At this point, all the checks have been done, all the surveys have been done, and then at this point you sign the contract. So whatever the bank you decided to go with or the lender you decided to go with has offered you, you've agreed to it, you're going to sign it. Also the payment schedule will be there and then you sign it. So this is where signatures come in. And once you sign it, you're legally bound to complete that mortgage process. At this point, you also then transfer your deposit to your solicitor. One thing to note here is that everything money would have to involve your solicitor. So at no point would you have to transfer money yourself to the developers. Everything goes through your solicitor. So you transfer your deposit to the solicitor, and then the banks also transfer, that is the mortgage lender or the bank transfers the money they are loaning you to the solicitor as well. So the solicitor has all of this money. During this time as well, I think is when they make the final payments to the developers. They pay all the money to them, and then you also get the title deed to the property, meaning like the property is officially in your name. Lastly, after this is the completion date. Completion date means the official date that the property will be ready for you to move in. So sometimes it can just be 1 week after exchange of contracts. Other times it might vary depending on the stage, the building stage that the property is in. So also by the time you move into this property, you need to have house insurance sorted, because if you're taking out a mortgage, you must have insurance on that property just to ensure that that property is protected. This is like the process. Thank you so much for watching this very long video. Let me know if you have any questions or comments regarding buying a house, and I'll try as much as possible to answer them. But yeah, I hope this helps.